As we've said, Africa is open for business, and we're putting meat to the bones. So whatever questions you have, even if you don't get the opportunity to ask the speakers, put them down. We'll collect them and pass them over to the organizers, so you have an appropriate answer at the appropriate time. Money is the thing, and financing is critical. Financing Africa's growth and redefining UK partnerships is one of the things we need to focus on. Where do we stand when it comes to digital trade? Where do we stand where we want to blend capital and strategic diplomacy? So for this, we're going to have a plenary session, and that's going to be moderated by my sister, Elizabeth Nyeko, CEO and founder of Modularity Grid. And we will be having as members of the plenary session, Professor Louise Franceschi, Assistant Secretary General of the Commonwealth, to please join us if you would. And also to be part of the panel, we have Richard Moyle, International Trade and Market Access Specialist. He's also an advisor on risk management. We have Dr. Alona Kapanos, Cambridgeshire Chamber of Commerce. Doc, please join us. Then Shabash Takra, OBE, former chair, London Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I think when he got up, you realized that he's quite vibrant in his ideas and would very well help our discussion. You have your seat here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand you over to Elizabeth.
Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to this morning's session. We'll be talking about financing Africa's growth with a little, and on top of that, looking at that, having that focus on that UK partnerships and how we can redefine UK partnerships to drive growth. Excellent. So, welcome to our panelists. We're going to start off with a quick introduction. So if you could all say a little bit about yourselves, and then once we are done with that round, then we'll do a second round where we will do kind of little short round of questions, and then we'll take it from there. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you, Lizzie. Jevaleko. I'm Louis Franceschi, Assistant Secretary General of the Commonwealth. I'm French by descent, Venezuelan by birth, and Kenyan by choice. I love Uganda, and I live in London. So I couldn't be more confused. Yes, that's for introduction. The Commonwealth has, for the first time in history, a Secretary General from Africa. And the African High Commissioners, some of them here in the room, really are very much pushing for an agenda for Africa, and from Africa to the world. We are very excited with this moment we are living, and we know that it means Africa has taken over the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Moore is my name, and it's great to hear what you just said, because I firmly believe in the Commonwealth trade advantage. And I'll start by saying this: the antidote to Trump tariffs is the Commonwealth trade advantage. And now, specifically speaking, I have Caribbean connections, and I'm very interested, and I'm sure some of you are also in the room interested in African-Caribbean trade, which has great potential, and I think, again, because of Trump tariffs, will become increasingly important. Now, my background is principally in private banking, due diligence, investment protection, and also this relatively new area, particularly in Africa, although it's increasingly popular, is to do with what's called sovereign equity. In other words, residency and citizenship by investment, the creation of new revenue streams. So if certain countries would like to attract new investors, you might wish to consider the notion of sovereign equity. And then specifically when it comes to the Caribbean and African connections, you may have seen that the Afro Import-Export Bank has established new links with the Central Bank of the Eastern Caribbean to create a trade platform which will use cryptocurrencies, among other things, to facilitate Afro-Caribbean trade.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll touch on the Commonwealth Advantage shortly. Lorna, if you can give a quick introduction.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Ilona Kapanos. My academic background is in international trade and international relations. However, I'm very much an entrepreneur, serial, I would say. But at the moment, my role with the Cambridge Chambers of Commerce is to assist businesses who are eager to access international markets, scale, and we are exploring very intensively the region of Africa. And in fact, recently, few of our members already started trading in Africa with African partners. And this area is very much of our interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Subhas Thakra. I was born in Uganda, so I'm Ugandan by birth. Got my primary education in Kakira and Jinja. I came here as a refugee in 1972, and I'm now the past chair of the London Chamber of Commerce, and have been instrumental in taking trade missions to East Africa, and of which the King saw the value of what I did, and that is where I was recognized with an OBE. It is to do with promoting African business. So that's something to keep in mind. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much to our panelists. So now, if we talk about financing growth, and we talk about the Commonwealth, and we hold these two ideas together, we think about how globally about 128 trillion of assets under investment sit with various global asset managers. So if we take just somewhere between 6 and 10% of that, that's nearly 10 trillion of capital available to be invested. And nearly a quarter of that, according to reports by BCG, sits undeployed. So what are some of the opportunities for countries across Africa to take advantage of that dry capital? And then secondly, if we talk about the Commonwealth, we think of the Commonwealth Advantage. So Commonwealth countries, 20% more likely to trade with each other and 10% and invest in each other 10% more. So that adds that extra that we could be taking advantage of. So what are the sort of partnership models and approaches that we can look to really start leveraging these opportunities and turning them into real jobs and real opportunities on the ground? Let's go.
Great. Thank you, Lizzie. The first thing we have to do, or the first thing we do, is let's kill all the lawyers. When Dick the Butcher said that 430 years ago in Henry VI Shakespeare, he was trying to achieve anarchy. And anarchy is the absence of rules. Basically, it's the law of the jungle, so to speak. And when anarchy rules, protectors transform into predators, heroes into cowards, saints into devils, and patriots into traitors. And the absence of rules is perhaps the biggest impediment to investment. Sincerely, if I had just £1,000 to invest, where do you invest them? Where you feel safe. If you have 10,000, 1 million, 10 billion, 100 billion, the same thing. And the more the money, the less the risk, unless you are a predator and you want the quick money. Now, the Commonwealth is not NATO, we don't have the guns, and the Commonwealth is not the World Bank, we don't have the money. Sometimes we feel sad of the little importance strategic countries like the UK, Australia, Canada, and others give to the Commonwealth. All these 56 countries together, sitting at the same table, colonizer and colonized in the past, agreed to sit because of 3 great African leaders and 1 impressive white woman. The 3 were Julius Nyerere from Tanzania, Kenneth Kaunda from Zambia, and Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana, who came to London to say, we are leaving the Commonwealth. Oh my God, why are you leaving? Because we did not join this institution, we did not fight for independence to be in an institution that was based under the foreign and still called Commonwealth Office. So this white woman, Elizabeth II, had the great magnanimous idea of saying, I give you Marlborough House, my house where my grandmother lived and died, where King Edward VIII had lunch with Wally Simpson and decided to abdicate. That important house where the walls keep so many secrets, I give this to you, to the Commonwealth, as your headquarters. So you get out of the Foreign Office and you become an independent international governmental organization. And this is what encouraged these leaders. And this is what Mandela used to fight apartheid. I mean, it's an incredible powerhouse. 56 countries speaking the same language and having the same law system, common law, and having the same governance structures. Understanding each other. That's why trading in the Commonwealth is 21% cheaper. But that trading is not happening because of us. So imagine if the Commonwealth was more focused on trade, and that is what the first African Secretary General is speaking day and night of, that pushing that trade advantage. Well, it will be unbelievable. I mean, we will kick it out of the park. So it's something that's beautiful. But for that, we need rules. Rules that are reasonable. Because law, in the end, is the boundaries of what is reasonable. If rules go too far, you choke innovation. And there is incredible innovation happening in Africa. I mean, in Kenya, where I have spent the whole of my life, it's unbelievable how people innovate. We keep on speaking of M-Pesa, which today move more money than all the 43 banks of Kenya put together. But M-Pesa was an innovation in 2007. It's no longer an innovation. There are many more things that have come behind M-Pesa. And when we think of rules, well, we have success stories in Africa. Seychelles, Cape Verde, Botswana, Rwanda, Namibia, Mauritius, and the High Commission ICEA are the least corrupt countries in Africa. So what do the other 48 in the list have to do to join that league? How can we make it possible for investors to find rules in place that will trigger that trade? Trade that cannot happen if we are not connected. I traveled 3 months ago from Libreville to Freetown. And the two names are the same, means the same thing, Libreville, Freetown, from Sierra Leone and Gabon. I had to spend the whole night on planes, changing planes, and the thing took me all over the place, to Senegal, to Ivory Coast, everywhere in West Africa, because there is no direct flight. A flight that could have been done in 1.5 hours took 13 hours, the whole night. It would have been easier for me to go to Paris and back. But I was reluctant. I said, I cannot do this to Africa. I cannot take this money to Paris to be back here. So, well, it's a huge challenge. It's something we have to work on. And just to throw a number, Africa loses to corruption are between 120 and 145 billion per year. The financial aid given to Africa bilaterally and multilaterally is around $36 billion. It's unbelievable. What could we do with this money? Well, for example, we will build 200,000 plus schools, primary and secondary schools. We will build 10,000 hospitals in Africa, 10,000 kilometers of paved roads, and 10 plus refineries of hydrogen plants, electricity plants, huge ones, even nuclear generators. So if we consider this, we say, well, what's happening? Why is this money being lost, and where is it going? And I think as governments, we have to be serious. At the Commonwealth, we are trying to do what we could to help our governments. The idea is to learn from each other, because we have that principle. You have the copyright, we have the right to copy. So you invented this, you came up with this good solution, we will copy it and spread it across the 56 countries. In Africa, Commonwealth countries are doing better in terms of anti-corruption than non-Commonwealth, generally speaking, but it's not perfect. We are not there yet. We have created, and with this I finish, a Commonwealth Pro Bono Center to advise the 14 least developed countries in the Commonwealth for free. The Gold Magic Circle law firms in London do this pro bono, so Attorney Generals take note. Model contracts on energy, infrastructure and mining, so that if you don't have the capacity because you have found a rare mineral you did not know you have it, well, you have those model contracts which can help you and the investor to reach a fair agreement, because it's about business, but it's also about the people and the government. So you triangulate, everyone can benefit, it's a win-win. Then model law on virtual assets. Digital world is growing. I mean, no small state should remain small in the digital world. We have also created something interesting. It's an initiative we are doing with some top universities. Avatar ministers of health, law and finance. And through artificial intelligence in a secure environment with data, we are answering priorities. Presidents can have Zoom meetings with these avatar ministers and give proper advice. It's dangerous. Cyber ethics is important. Albania, Samuel was telling me, and I think he's in the room, Albania has created the first avatar minister for anti-corruption. She's called Delhi, and that woman can do disasters because nobody's to blame. And for the politicians, it's nice. Look, it's the avatar minister who told me you are stealing. Sorry, but this is not allowed. So, and finally, also the model loan stable coins. So that the Commonwealth countries have model loan stable coins and can start moving on with it before the US or before Europe takes over and monopolizes the whole thing. Model loan cyber ethics, given the artificial intelligence developments, and well, a number of other initiatives. But the struggle goes on. We cannot kill that honest lawyer we all carry inside, because we are all somehow a little bit of a lawyer if we're interested in justice, and we have to keep that dream going on. We cannot guarantee success, but we guarantee failure if we give up. Giving up is not an option. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we move on to Richard. So Richard, we've killed all the lawyers, we've torn the rule books, and we got rid of corruption. What do we do next?
Oh, quite easy actually. More education and improved healthcare.
Yeah.
That's what I would invest in. So I won't repeat anything you said because I completely agree with it. And I'll just be brief because other people would like to talk as well, I'm sure. So education and healthcare would be the two areas that I'd look at on a Pan-African basis.
So key investment areas, once you've addressed the barriers, what are the opportunities? Would you be focusing on trade, industrialization, infrastructure. Where does that growth lie?
Well, with regard to the chambers of commerce, we play a crucial role in bringing together investors and exporters with the outside world. With regard to the business itself and international trade, our role, what we do within our chambers of commerce in Cambridge, we explore first and foremost for the outside exporters, niche markets within the UK. We bring together those businesses, irrespective to the sector and industry, to their clients in international markets. Very often investors face the questions and difficulties, and they're sort of taking step back when it comes to investing in the African region. Again, there have been raised a few questions, instability, corruptions, and etc. This breach can be easily, this gap can be easily breached with the role of the chambers of commerce in bringing this stability in the relationship and in the trade. Now, the significant part that bring this stability to investors is, I would say, co-branding, where chambers of commerce they play as mediator when it comes to regulations and policies and etc. And lastly, I would mention that. Can you hear me? Yeah? Lastly, I would mention that a curated B2B delegations, in general, as a rule of thumb, usually the delegation that come to the UK to explore the UK investors, they consist of 40, 50, 60 and more delegates, which makes it very much less personal. So what we do and present to our members and non-members as well, but especially in our region, we bring the hand-picked 15, 20 businesses from outside the UK, and we match them with our investors and our buyers. In fact, next month we have a delegation from Abu Dhabi with 15 businesses who are already matched with our businesses in our region. So I would say, when it comes to chambers of commerce, and I can speak only from the chambers of commerce perspective, it's extremely important to liaise with us, to come to us, because we liaise with embassies, we liaise with trade departments, we liaise with any Department of Business Trade inside the UK and outside the UK, and we can make this, we can match these investors and buyers and clients and exporters from outside, and to promote international trade.
Hello.
All right, thank you, Subhash. Yeah, so you can carry on from there. So what are some of the key lessons that we can learn?
I'll carry on from there, but your theme is, how can we help with the financing
growth, and where does
I'm
growth
going to give my comments and divide it into two sections. One is at a macro level. At a macro level, I think Africa can do a lot by just looking at what India has done. I remember a few years ago, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, was visiting London, And it was an amazing experience that I had. I was the chair of the London Chamber. It's a very interesting story. I met him one-to-one, and at that time, nobody was investing in India. There was hardly any interest in India. India was not growing, and he's here telling me that please invest in India. And I said, but where? Where would we invest? And you know what he did? He gave me a brochure like this from his case and said, here are all the evaluated projects in India that we have identified, and we've got the top firms of accountants like PwC and KPMG who have also done some homework on each one of them. And each one of them is divided into the level of investment. You want to invest $5 million? Here's 3 projects that you can take a look at. And you know, he was the CEO of India. And that's an interesting example. And look at where India has grown. Indian economy is got the similarities to African economy, but Africa has got even more potential, in my opinion. As Lord Poppert was saying, you got in Africa various natural resources, and young people who are very bright. And if you go to Africa, you will realize that. I go to Africa regularly, and I see that there are some really good people able to very digital in their approach and thinking. So the potential is there, but what is missing is the understanding in the other parts of the world about what that potential of Africa is. And hence the point I made to Lord Poppert about having trade envoys from Africa visiting the rest of the world and educating the rest of the world. Remember that I'm sitting in London. Our focus for looking at investment is not just Africa. It's India, it's Europe, it's US, various places where our minds get focused on. Now, how does somebody bring Africa into the focus? Only by repeatedly telling people that this is where great potential exists. Investor in Uganda, I know what it is. Yes, there are problems in investing in Africa. Bureaucracy is one of them. We've touched on that earlier. And so now my second part, which is to be more focused on how can SMEs and business people based in Africa running an enterprise, and how can they finance and run the business. One idea that you should think about is to set up a company in UK. UK companies find it a lot easier to finance, whether their projects are in Africa or anywhere else. But as long as you're based in UK and you've got a presence here, and it's very easy to form a UK company, you know, for within a day you can have a company of your own, and it can cost you less than £1,000 per day. So that is something, as soon as you have presence in UK, you have access to a lot of sources of funding that you could explore and look at. Trade finance is another one. We have gentlemen from Euro-Exim Bank. Please raise your hand. There you are. That bank is active in trade finance in between Africa and UK and other parts of the world. I think, I can't remember how many countries they have got presence in, but about 200 countries there is a presence of. So there is a way of finance, and what is Africa doing today? Africa is exporting, wants to export agricultural products, other products, and that is where you need trade finance, and trade finance is available. And a third example I must say is we have a giant of a man sitting in this room with us, Sudhir Ruparelia, born Ugandan, came to UK, then went back to Uganda. He's a billionaire in his own right. Now, you ask him, and Sudhir, I'm going to ask you directly, have you raised any money from UK? Have you needed to do it? No, there you are. See, this is an example where if you can be successful in Africa and do really well, and you don't need to be coming out internationally for funding, you know, you just need to apply your minds and work on it. So opportunities are there, and we got a deputy governor of the Bank of Uganda. He can guide you on how funds can be raised locally. But these are really good simple things that one should be able to do. And don't ever think you don't have the potential. I think African organizations and the potential for Africa is enormous. It is not understood well. And people like Willie Mutenza, is Willie here?
Yes,
Willie
yes.
was here. Is Willie?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Willie
yeah,
Mutenza started this kind of initiative to educate people about Uganda and other African potential. And I think this is long may it continue, because this is where we can have more exchange of ideas and thoughts.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I won't pretend to give you a history lesson. However, let's fast forward to now. And the potential for trade between the Caribbean and Africa is definitely increasing. One of the contemporary reasons for that is the American tariff attitude. And so a way of getting around that is to trade directly between Africa and the Caribbean, say through Barbados or Jamaica, for example, and that's happening. There are also increased flights. You've had delegations. I'm pleased to see that the High Commissioner for Grenada will be here later on, because I know for a fact, having done business between Grenada and Africa, there is increasing potential there. There was even last week a summit involving Caribbean leaders and African leaders to further enhance and develop more and more business. So it's happening. That's the point. And then I alluded to earlier about the access which already exists in Africa, the model for compensation to facilitate trade between African countries. Well, they're trying through the Afro-Exim Bank to apply that model to the central banks in the Eastern Caribbean and create an exchange compensation platform which will ultimately lead to the use of cryptocurrency rather than foreign exchange currencies, like using the dollar and having to rely on banks in New York and Miami to facilitate trade. So they're looking at ways of de-dollarization, which is obviously, depending where you sit, a plus and a minus, but it's definitely being trialed via the Central Bank of the Bahamas, for example. So, and then you've got individuals who, despite the macro level developments that I've tried to describe just now, there are also individuals who are increasingly aware of African trade potential. And that's also happening too. What we lack in the Caribbean is increased transport links, because at the moment one has to fly via London or via New York or some other place before you can actually directly access African business potential. But the point I also wanted to make is this. It's nice to be idealistic and imagine there's possibilities for trade. Indeed there are. However, there's no substitute for doing your due diligence, looking at your client in a thorough way to really understand and know them. Is it really their money, and you're not aiding and abetting inadvertently money laundering and corrupt practices? Because sadly, no one's immune to that wherever you sit in the world. And sadly, even the UK has a record in this. If you look at the International Corruption Index, which I'd all encourage you to look at, you see very clearly the hierarchy of countries, and organized crime is international in every sense. So know your client, do your due diligence, and certainly know your business partner. So on that note, I'll hand over to...
The other advantage, of course, we know the Commonwealth advantage, is of course we all speak English. So it means you can read the fine print and hopefully be able to do your due diligence better on the deals. So let's open up the panel to questions from the floor. So we'll take a few questions from everyone. Feel free to ask. You can ask a general question to the whole panel, or you can ask it to a specific panelist. Let's get going.
Thank you so much for the insightful contributions. My name is Clementina Aino, and I'm CEO of 6Cs, that bridges the gap between education and employment. You mentioned about education being a key element, so I just want to find out how we can support in terms of Africa, Uganda, and particularly the developing countries, regarding quality assurance, based on best practice found in the UK, but really identifies the contextual and the education landscape. So my background is education quality assurance. I was an offset inspector for over 25 years, so I'd love to know about that.
So we have one question on education, so shall we put that to you, Richard? Do you want to take it? Or who's happy to
can we
that?
take one more?
Yeah?
I'm not educated enough, but I'll tell you what I do know. So I'm involved with not a British company, but a South African one, which has created programs using artificial intelligence and all manner of newfangled technology, which I'm not an expert in. But anyhow, what they're doing is providing for classrooms in places like Zimbabwe and elsewhere that are very badly equipped, to put it mildly. They're providing these ready-made lessons for young people of various ages, and it's a whole curriculum that they're rolling out using new technology. So that would be one area that I'd be prepared to advise and introduce you to the relevant people, because I think from what you just said, it sounds like it would be ideal. Of course, in the UK, we have, our immigration regulations now make it difficult for foreign students to come here. So universities are increasingly being forced to go outside of the UK to provide teaching capability. So you've got, I know in Uganda there are certain UK universities which have good relationships, and long may they continue and certainly be encouraged, because as I say, with our immigration rules in this country, it's increasingly difficult, and foreign students obviously pay more than UK ones, so that's a decline in income as a result, and that makes universities suffer. So I think there may be something there, but I don't know more than that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's hand over to Louis, because I know he's got something to say.
Thank you.
Great. Richard, you have put it very well. In my past life, I was the Dean of Law at Strathmore University, and being a professor of law, I met quite a number of colleagues, professors from Oxford and Harvard, who came to teach, and they would say, I have never seen such level of intelligence and engagement as I see here. In Harvard, he told me, Professor Weyler, I feel as the wall between the student and the degree. Here they make you feel the bridge, and there were students from all over East Africa, Uganda included. It's unbelievable, but we have a problem. The regulators need a lot of education. The regulators are still thinking of 500 years ago. Classrooms haven't changed for them in 500 years. So we need to catch up with innovation. AI is changing education. Until now, we judge students by the answers. From now on, we have to judge them by the questions, because AI gives you the answers, and you get the right answer if you ask the right question. So we have to rethink the model. I mean, there are students who cannot spend 5 years doing law, engineering, computer technology, IT. I mean, it's absurd. They learn what you used to learn in 5 years in 2 months. And they are incredibly engaged. They are much better and faster than the teacher. So we have to rethink the whole model of education. And as we have less in terms of general population, educational institutions in Africa, this is our time. It's like the mobile phone. I remember going in 1996 to Uganda, and everybody already had a mobile in 1998.
Professor,
the gardeners, everyone had mobiles. It's incredible.
I want to take one more question here, and want to move on in time. Make it short and quick, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Louis, and all the participants. My name is Ivan Engoru. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Uganda and a lecturer at Makerere University School of Law. You spoke about lack of rules as an impediment to transfer of capital, but I wanted to tap your brain with regards to also the problem of standardization, because we belong to the Commonwealth, but you'll agree with me that we are at different levels of economic development. How would you propose we deal with that if you're speaking, for example, to a legislator? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If we can make the response short,
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody's still around, so we can please catch up with them in the different rooms and have a conversation. Elizabeth, one more point. I think I need to cut your session short.
Yep.
Closing remarks, and then we'll move.
All right, excellent. So we will close with a quick question. So Africa's growth, where do you see it coming from? Trade, investment, industrialization. Pick one. We'll do a vote round the panel, and then we'll see the winner.
I would say communication. We have to speak between countries. We have to be together and to fly into Africa. We have to sell things to each other. Our greatest partner cannot be the UK or China. It has to be within Africa, and that will bring all of us together.
Thank you. I agree with what Louis just said, but I was just thinking back to what the central bank governor had to say about being optimistic, and I certainly am for the future. And I would also add to being optimistic, I would advocate and make a plea for mentoring. We've heard lots about chambers of commerce. Well, chambers are not just useful for best practice, they're also good for mentoring young people. And I would encourage everyone to think along those lines. We all have a certain age, we all have a certain knowledge, and I think knowledge sharing, best practice sharing, capacity building are exactly what I think will help make Africa both strong and resilient.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would say less talking, more doing, practical steps. Bring your businesses here. We run B2B events where we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses who come, who network. Bring your businesses, encourage them to come, bring their goods, bring their services, education, training. We are already delivering these programs to Ghana, to Nigeria, in solar panels, farming, and etc. Get in touch with us.
Thank you. Final
my answer is all three. You don't need to exclude anything. But more importantly, Africa can look at leapfrogging. You don't need to go to the original phones now. People are going straight away into digital phones. So do the same with everything else, including education, as we heard from Richard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
I've been here since morning, but I've noted that education is one of the things that is really not talked about. But I was just wondering, we are all a result of education. Somebody somewhere really taught us. So my request is to also partner here to lobby for the education sector. As a school, we do quite so many things, and one of the things is that we take care of children of parents in the diaspora, so that your culture is not, then the other thing, as a school, we also do financial literacy, so that children can learn money and also come and represent. I must say I'm a result. Professor is here, BOU. I'm a result of you. You are my lecturer at Makerere University. So if somebody did not invest in me, I wouldn't be here. So I'm also wondering if this convention can also be translated into the young people. I don't know if we can have a window where young people can come and learn. The other thing is that as a school, we also venture into sports, and I'm glad the tourism board is thinking about sports, and we want to thank Excel Academy that is helping us partner with them and taking children, and we currently have professional footballers in our school. Then the other thing is that we also look at some vulnerable children who are gifted in different co-curricular sports, and we take them on. As I conclude, the other thing that we also request for, if you're here, we want to invest more in the special needs. I'm glad we have so many government people here. The education system in our country has not taken care of the special needs people, special needs children, and as a school we are taking on this. My ask, as I conclude, if you're here and you're able to partner with us, we will be very glad, and we are around Thank you so much once again for the opportunity.
Thank you.